Welcome to Preeminent Test Prep. Today's day 46 in our 90-day SAT Prep series. Today I'll be taking you through the Math No Calculator section for about the first 25 minutes to half an hour. Then after that, I'll be teaching you the SAT writing section. So for today's lessons with the Math No Calculator section, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing a walkthrough of SAT Practice Test 1, the Math Test No Calculator section, to teach you pacing. Okay, so I talked about, I gave my notes in my lesson as far as without a walkthrough on pacing on day 44. So if you missed that, you should watch that before you watch today's video, because that really tells you exactly why I have the strategy I do, and it really kind of outlines that, and I would highly recommend watching that video. So if you haven't watched that yet, go watch that. I did a walkthrough of SAT Practice Test 6, that Math No Calculator section yesterday, and today I'm going to be doing another walkthrough of the Math No Calculator section of SAT Practice Test 1. So what I'm going to be trying to do today is I'm going to be trying to show you how I approach the Math No Calculator section of the SAT. So I'll really be breaking down how I would go through the section if I were taking the SAT myself. So yesterday I had a little bit of issues with the screen or the timer on my screen going out. I believe that I have fixed that today, so hopefully that will not be a problem. And just in case, I'm actually going to run a stopwatch on my phone. Let me pull that up real quick. So I'm going to run a stopwatch on my phone as well for 25 minutes. So I should not end up losing time this time. Yesterday it wasn't a big deal. I finished on time, got everything I needed to get done anyways, so that was obviously still very helpful. Today I'm going to make sure that I get the timer going correctly. I'll have a backup as well, so if it does go out of my screen, I'll be good. But as I go through, really try to pay attention to the order I do the questions, because it's going to follow what I did in my notes. Try to pay attention to how I'm moving through efficiently, so you'll see me use the same tricks that I taught you over the last 40 days or so. So you'll see me be using those tricks where we have to add or subtract equations, so you can pay attention to that. But overall, you'll be able to see how someone who scored 800 on the math test back-to-back moves through the Math No Calculator section efficiently and still has time at the end then to go back and check his bubble sheet and check his work. So you'll see me do that as well. So overall, it's really trying to give you the insight into what someone who scores perfectly on the math section back-to-back is able to do, so that you can kind of emulate that strategy. So really focus on the strategy that I use, okay? Now, if you want an explanation of why I use that strategy, like I said, go check out SAT day 44 of 90. That's where I outline why I do things the way I do them. But at this point, what you're going to want to do is just kind of take notes, look at how I'm solving these problems quickly, look at how I check my work afterwards, and all of that. So like I said, after this, we're going to have the SAT writing section. But with that, we're going to go ahead and start this Math No Calculator section walkthrough when the timer on my screen hits 3 minutes. So that's about 10 seconds from now. Just make sure that you have a notebook out. If you want to have a workbook out as well, that's okay. We got 5 seconds now, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, start. All right, let's get going. Okay, so this is from SAT Practice Test 1. Okay, question 1. If x minus 1 over 3 equals k and k equals 3, what is the value of x? Well, I know k equals 3, so I'm going to go ahead and plug in 3 for k. Let me switch to my black pen. I plug in 3 for k. I'm going to multiply each side by 3, so that way I can isolate x. So now I've got 3 times 3, that's going to give me 9. So now I see that 9 equals x minus 1. I add 1 to each side. I see then that x is going to equal 10. So 10 will be my answer there. Asked for the value of x. Important to pay attention to this last part. So answer there is going to be D. So 1 is going to be D. All right, question 2. I'm going to scroll down. We've got for I equals the square root of negative 1, what's the sum of 7 plus 3i plus negative 8 plus 9i? Okay, I'm going to take my 7. 7 minus 8 gives me negative 1. 3i plus 9i is going to give me plus 12i. So negative 1 plus 12i, see that's answer choice A. So 2 answer there is going to be A. Question 3. On Saturday afternoon, Armand sent M text messages each hour for 5 hours. So his total will be 5 times the amount of messages he's sending each hour. Tyrone sent P text messages each hour for 4 hours. So he's sending them for 4 hours at a rate of P each hour. Which of the following represents the total number of messages sent by them on Saturday afternoon? Well, the total is going to be them summed. So that'll be 5M plus 4P. Answer there is going to have to be C. So 3 there is going to be C. Question 4. Kathy's a repair tech for a phone company. Each week she receives a batch of phones that needs repairs. The number of phones she has left to fix at the end of each day can be estimated by the equation P equals 108 minus 23D, where P is the number of phones left, D is the number of days she worked. What's the value of 108? Okay, 108 I see is going to be my intercept, so if I work 0 days, I still have 108 phones left to fix. 108 phones left to fix. So that's going to be the amount of phones she starts each week with then that she has to fix. So we have option A, Kathy will complete repairs within 108 days. No. B, Kathy starts each week with 108 phones to fix. Yes, that's correct. Okay, so 4 answer there is going to have to be B. All right, moving down, we got question 5 now. Okay, so I see I've got a big equation, and I am asked which of the following is equivalent to the expression above. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at my y squared term. I see I've got negative 3y squared right there. Now I've got minus negative 3y squared there. That's going to be plus 3y squared, so my y squared then is going to be canceled. Okay, so I have no y squared term. Anything with that I can get rid of. So I can get rid of b. I see that I can get rid of d as well. So now I'm between a and c. Next thing I'm going to look at, I see a difference is in my x squared y squared term, in that one has it and one does not. So let me take a look here. I've got 5xy squared. I have no x squared y term, so I know a is wrong, and I know c has to be my correct answer then for number 5. All right, number 6. Going down, we've got a pediatrician uses the model above to estimate the height of a boy in inches in terms of the boy's age A and years between ages 2 and 5. Which, based on the model, what's the estimated increase in inches of a boy's height each year? Each year tells me I'm looking at a rate, which is going to be my slope, so that's going to be 3. So answer there is going to be A. Okay, so 6, answer there is A. Okay, now I got question 7. All right, so I've got this stacked formula right here. The formula is giving the monthly payment M needed to pay off a loan of P dollars at R percent interest over N months. Which of the following gives P in terms of R, M, R, and N? So I'm looking to solve for P. Okay, I know that I'm just going to end up flipping this. Okay, so this is going to come up here by P. This is going to have to go down. If you want to know why, I can just flip it. Go back and watch the video I have on SAT Practice Test 1, the Math No Calculator section. So I know I'm flipping it, so I'm going to look for having this negative 1 up top. I see the only option where I've got negative 1 up top is option B, so B must be my answer then for question 7. All right, now we got question 8, so go down to question 8. If A over B equals 2, what's the value of 4B over A? Okay, that means that B could equal 1. That means A could equal 2 because 2 over 1 is 2. If B is 1, then I got 4 times 1, which is just 4. And then I've got that over A. A is 2. That's 4 over 2, which just means that that's going to be 2. So answer there is going to be C for number 8. All right, now we got question 9. Okay, I've got stacked equations. I got to solve for xy of the solution above. Okay, I've got 3x and I've got a minus x. I've got a 4y and a 2y. I know if I multiply this bottom equation by 2, I can have 4y and 4y. I'll subtract that bottom one then to get rid of y. Okay, so now my y's are gone. I got 3x minus 2 times negative x, so that's minus 2x. But since it's subtracted, that's going to be minus negative 2x, which gives me positive 2x. So that means I'm going to have 5x. I have that equal to negative 23 minus 2 times negative 19. 2 times negative 19 is negative 38. Minus negative 38 is positive 38. Negative 23 plus 38, that's going to give me positive 15. Positive 15 equals 5x. Divide each side by 5. I see then that x is going to equal 15 over 5, which is 3. Only option with x being 3 is option B. So 9, my answer there is going to have to be B. Okay, at this point, I've answered 9. That means I go and switch down to 16 through 18 of the math free response part of the no calculator section. Question 16, if t is greater than 0, so t is positive, t squared minus 4 equals 0, what's the value of t? Okay, I'm going to add 4 to each side. Add 4 to each side. 0 plus 4 is 4. T squared equals 4. All right, there we go. T squared equals 4. Square root each side. Square root of 4 is 2. T has to be positive. Answer there is going to be 2 for number 16. Okay, question 17. Let me just go ahead and get down here. Okay, question 17. A summer camp counselor, we got to solve for x. We're told the lengths represented AB, EB, BD, CD on the sketch are 1800. So I'm going to plot this on it. So I've got 1800 is AB, 1800 is AB. I got 1400 is EB, E to B is 1400. I've got 700 is BD, and then I've got 800 is going to be CD. 800 is going to be CD. Okay, what do I see immediately? Okay, I've got vertical angles right here. They must be the same. Okay, then I see it from my vertical angle to this angle here, which are the same in each of them. I have a ratio of 700 to 400. Okay, now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put my ratio of my larger one on top because I have to solve for x, which I'm going to want to have on top. So I'm going to have 1400 then over 700 has to equal x over, it's 800, right? Because that's going to be the corresponding side length of this smaller similar triangle to this larger similar triangle. So it'll be x over 800. I'm going to multiply. What I see immediately, though, is that 1400 over 7 is just going to be 2. Okay, so I can rewrite that as 2 over 1. So 2 over 1. So if that's 2 over 1, then I'm going to have to go ahead and I'm going to have to divide. Or if I've got 2 over 1 equal to x over 800, what I can do then is I see that what's up top is going to have to be double what's on bottom. If what's up top's got to be double what's on bottom, 800 times 2 is going to give me 1600. So 1600 would be my answer there. So 1600 here is going to be my answer, 1600. Okay, now we've got question 18. Okay, so we've got, according to the system of equations above, what's the value of x? I want to get rid of y, so I'm going to double this. Okay, double that up top, and then I'm going to subtract. Okay, so now we've got 2 times y minus 2y, y is gone. 2x minus x leaves me with just x. 2 times negative 9, that's going to be negative 18. Negative 18 minus negative 25, that's negative 18, plus 25, which will give me positive 7. So then x is going to have to equal 7. Answer for 18 will be 7 then. At this point, I glance at 19, 20, see if they look easy, which they do, and I'm going to solve for them first before doing 10 through 15 since they look easy. Okay, in a right triangle, one angle measures x, where sine of x equals 4/5. What is the cosine of 90 minus x? Okay, I know that the cosine of my complementary angle to angle x, I know that the cosine of the complementary angle is going to be the same as the sine of the other angle, right? So 4/5, my answer here is also going to be 4/5 for 19. Okay, I'm going to quick show you why that is, even though I wouldn't if I were really taking this. I'm just going to quick do it because I think it's important to know. And I want to reiterate it because it's so important. Okay, I've got angle x up here. Okay, its sine is 4/5, which means opposite 4, hypotenuse 5. Okay, 90 minus x is going to be this angle here. Okay, this is 90 minus x, since they're complementary angles. Okay, we see that the cosine is its adjacent, which I see is 4 over the hypotenuse 5, answer is 4/5. Okay, 20. If a equals 5 times root 2 and 2a equals root 2x, what's the value of x? Okay, if a is 5 times root 2, I got 2 times 5 root 2. That's going to give me 10 root 2. Okay, so now I got 10 root 2 then is equal to that root 2x. I'm going to square each side. Square each side. 10 squared is 100. Root 2 squared is going to be 2. 2 times 100 is going to give me 200. 200, and that's going to equal this right here is getting squared as well. Root 2x squared leaves me with 2x. Divide each side by 2, and that's going to leave me with 100 equals x. So my answer for the value of x then is going to be 100 for number 20. Okay, now we've answered all those. At this point, we go back and answer 10 through 15. Okay, I see 10's right here. For the function g defined above, a is a constant and g of 4 is 8. What's the value of g of negative 4? Okay, well, I see my x term is squared, so 4 squared is 16. Negative 4 squared is also 16. So then g of x, or g of 4 is going to equal the same as g of negative 4, and they both, it says that g of 4 is equal to 8, so g of negative 4 is also equal to 8. So answer is going to be A for number 10. All right, so now we got question 11. Question 11, we've got it up here. We got B and C. B and C are representing prices of beef and chicken respectively. X weeks after July 1st last summer, what was the price per pound of beef when it was equal to the price per pound of chicken? So I got to set these two equal to each other. So that's what I'll do. We got 1.75 plus 0.4x. All right, I'm going to subtract 0.25x to maintain a positive coefficient in front of x. I do that from both sides. 0.4x minus 0.25x leaves me with 0.15x. Now I'm going to subtract $1.75 from each side. Subtract $1.75 from each side. 2.35 minus $1.75. That's going to leave me with 5 plus 5, 25. That's going to leave me with 60. Okay, 60 cents. So 0.60 then is equal to 0.15x. Divide each side by 0.15. Okay, that's going to leave me with 4 as x. Okay, so x is 4. 4 isn't my answer, though. I got to plug in that 4 into my original equation to find when they're equal. I'm going to do that with 0.25 because 4 times 0.25 becomes a 1. Okay, so now I've got 2.35 plus 1. Answer then is going to be 3.35. That's going to be answer choice D, so D will be my answer for 11. All right, question 12. A line in the xy plane passes through origin, which is 0, 0, has a slope of 1/7. Which of the following points lies on the line? That's just going to be y equals 1/7 x. I see that then my y is going to have to be less than whatever my x is. That means A is wrong, that means B is wrong, that means C is wrong. D is my only plausible answer there. Okay, next up I've got 13. Okay, let's go ahead and run through 13. So we've got if x is greater than 3, which of the following is equivalent? Okay, right here. So I know what I'm going to try to do here is multiply by my common denominator down here. Okay, so I'm going to multiply then by that x plus 2 times x plus 3 all over x plus 2 times x plus 3. I'm going to zoom in so you can see that better. Okay, that's what I'm multiplying by right here. Okay, keep in mind that that's 1, which is why I can do that. Okay, when I do that, I see that this x plus 2, right, we're going to keep in mind we're distributing it here and to here. Okay, when I do that, my x plus 2 for this term here is going to cancel up top with this x plus 2 right here. So that's going to leave me with an x plus 3 up top. Then I'm going to have that plus, my x plus 3 is going to cancel with this one here, so I'll have an x plus 2 up top. And that's all going to be over then. Keep in mind this 1 is still up here. It's all going to be over that x plus 2 times x plus 3. Okay, so now at this point, what that's going to equal, right, that's going to be 1 over x plus 3 plus x plus 2. That's the same as 2x plus 5 all over. It's going to be x squared plus 5x plus 6. Okay, now what is this equivalent to? Well, since there's a 1 up here, all we got to do is flip these terms here. I flip them, and that's going to bring my x squared plus 5x plus 6 up top. Okay, so my answer then is going to be answer choice B. Okay, so that's question 13. Answer there is going to have to be B. This 2x plus 5 drops down. All right, so 13, answer there is going to be B. Now we go ahead and move on to question 14. Where is that at? Down here. Okay, if 3x minus y equals 12, what's the value of 8x over 2y? Okay, I know that this 8 here can be rewritten as 2 to the power of 3 times x over 2y. I'm going to rewrite that because it's sloppy, over 2y. Okay, I know that can be rewritten then as 2 to the power of 3x minus y. I know 3x minus y is 12, so that can be rewritten as 2 to the 12th. Answer there is going to have to be A. Okay, so 14, answer there is A. Now I can go ahead and move on to 15. This is my last one. All right, if a of x plus 2 times b of x plus 7 equals this, for all values of x, a and b plus 8, a plus b equals 8, what are the two possible values for c? All right, well, the first thing I see is this a of x times this b of x is going to give me 15x squared, which means a times b has to equal 15. So a times b has to equal 15. So now I'm looking at what times what equals 15 that adds to 8. That's going to be 3 and 5. Okay, so basically right here, it doesn't matter which one's a or which one's b. We'll say that because we're going to have to use both of them anyways. 3 will equal A. We'll say B is equal to 5. All right, so at this point, we just go ahead and plug in and we solve for our possible values of C. Okay, so we plug in, solve for our values of C. Well, if 3 is A, I'll put a 3 in. Okay, we got 3 and then 5 for B. Okay, we see we're going to have 2 times 5. That's going to give me 10x. Now we've got 3x times this 7. That's going to give me plus 21x. So what possible answer would be 31x. We get rid of our x because we're just asked to solve for C. Possible answer there is 31. Only one with 31 is D. Okay, so my answer for 15 then has to be answer choice D. Okay, at this point I've answered all my questions. It looks like I've done that in about 13 and a half minutes, approaching 14 minutes. So that means that I've done it correctly, right? In the sense that I have 10 to 8 minutes left to go through, make sure I match my bubble sheet, and then check my work. So this is following what I recommended in my pacing guide that I did on day 44, so let's go ahead and do that. So now at this point we go back. If I were taking this on the real SAT, I'd go through 1 through 20, make sure what I wrote down in my text booklet matches what I have on my answer sheet. So that's what I'm going to do now. So I'd say 1, D, make sure it matches. 2, A, make sure it matches. 3, C, make sure it matches. 4, B, make sure it matches. 5, C, make sure it matches. 6, A, make sure it matches. 7, B, make sure it matches. 8, C, make sure it matches. 9, B, make sure it matches. 10, A, make sure it matches. 11, D, make sure it matches. 12, D, make sure it matches. 13, B, make sure it matches. 14, A, make sure it matches. 15, D, make sure it matches. 16, 2, make sure it matches. 17, 1600, make sure it matches. 18, 7, make sure it matches. 19, 4/5, make sure it matches. 20, 100, make sure it matches. Okay, now I've gone through, I've checked, make sure everything in my text booklet matched what was on my bubble sheet. At this point, I go through and I check all my work. So I check my work in the same way, the same order that I did my problems. So for checking my work, I'm going to put it in blue. I accidentally started in blue there, but I'm going to put it in blue now. Okay, so checking my work. If K equals 3, I plug 3 in here. I'm going to have to multiply each side by 3 like I did. 3 times 3 is going to give me 9. 9 equals x minus 1. That's going to have to be 10 minus 1 equals 9. So the answer is going to have to be 10 since I'm asked for the value of x. Okay, whenever I check my work, I always pay attention to the end especially, because if I miss something in the end, that's going to get me wrong. So answer there, that's correct. I'm going to put a check mark because I checked it. Number 2, I is equal to the square root of -1. I'm asked to sum these. 7 plus -8, that's going to be -1. 3i plus 9i gives me 12i. That's correct as well. Okay, so A must be my answer there. Number 3. All right, I've got Armand is sending M text messages per hour for 5 hours. So his total then is going to have to be that 5 times M. Tyrone's sending P text messages each hour for 4 hours. His total is 4P. I'm asked for the total number of messages sent between them. That's going to be 5M plus 4P. Answer C. That one's checked. Okay, 4. We've got an equation. It's the amount that she has left to fix is this equation. We're asked for the value of 108. We see 108 is our intercept, which means that must be when P equals 0. P is the number of phones, when D equals 0. D is the number of days that she worked that week. That's going to be 0. So that 108 is how many phones she has left to start, or she starts each week with. She has to start each week with 108 phones to fix. That one's checked. Okay, number 5. All right, I've got an equation. What's equivalent to the equation above? Okay, I answered 2x squared plus 2xy. I see that my negative y squared term, that's going to cancel because I have a negative times negative 3y squared. So that's a plus 3y squared. Y squared is going to cancel. That's wrong. That's wrong. Next thing, I got to check if there's an x squared y term. There are no x squared y terms in here at all. So then A is incorrect. C is my correct answer. That's checked. Number 6, I'm asked for the amount the boy's height increases each year. I know height is age. Height is h. I see that if it's increasing each year, that must be referring to my slope, which answer is going to be 3. 6 is checked. Number 7, All right, so I see that I'm asked to solve for what p equals. That means I'm just flipping these. So this one goes up top. I have to have a -1 up top then. See, the only option that's got that is B. B is correct. So check that one. Go down. Number 8. If A equals 2, so I've got A over B equals 2. That means I can say A is 2. I can say B is 1. If I plug in then that 1 for B, I got 4 times 1 over 2. So that's 4 over 2, which is 2. That's correct as well. That's checked. 9. Okay, I've got stacked equations solving for x and y. I see all my x's are different, so I'm going to solve for x first because that's going to give me my answer without having to solve for y. I see I got 4y. I'm going to subtract 2 times y. That gets rid of my y. I got 3x then minus, so that's going to be 3x minus negative 2x, which is plus 2x. 3x plus 2x give me 5x like I have there. Negative 23 minus negative 38, since it's 2 times negative 19. That's a plus 38. Negative 23 plus 38 is 15. 5x equals 15. Divide each side by 5. 15 over 5 is 3. Correct answer is B. That one's checked as well. Number 10. Or I guess I got to go down now to 16, 18. Okay, caught myself there. After 9, we go down to 16, 18. T's got to be positive. Is it positive? Yes. Is t squared minus 4 equals 0? Well, it's 2 squared minus 4 equal to 0. 2 squared is 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. Yes, that's correct. Number 17. Okay, I see I've got 2 similar triangles here. I'm going to make sure that BD, since that's the one I used for my ratio, is 700. I see BD is my third one listed. Find my third feet listed. That is 700. Make sure that B to E is also correct. I see B to E is my second term, which is 1400. That's also correct. Then I got to make sure that my 800 is correct. That's DC. 800. I see that is C to D, so that is also correct. Which means my ratio, I see that I multiply by 2 to go from 700 to 1400. I got to multiply by 2 then to go from 800 to X. 800 times 2 is 1600. That one's checked as well. Okay, now I got number 18. System of equations above. What's the value of x? If I'm solving for x, I want to get rid of y, so I'm going to multiply my top one by 2. 2y minus 2y, 0. 2x minus x is x. Negative 9 times 2, which is negative 18. Negative 18 minus negative 25, that's negative 18 plus 25. Negative 18 plus 25, that's positive 7. X equals 7. That one's checked. Okay, 19 and 20. I got a right triangle. One angle measures angle x. Sine of x is 4/5. What's cosine 90 minus x? Okay, that one's 4/5. I know that because that's a rule we have to follow. That one's correct as well. Okay, now we got number 20. A is 5 root 2. 2a is that, so I got to do 2 then. 2 times a, so 2 times a. That's going to be 2 times 5. That's going to give me 10 root 2. 10 root 2. I square each side to get rid of my root. That's going to give me 100 times 2. That's 200. And then I square my other side, which is this root 2x. I square that. That's giving me 2x. Divide each side by 2. That means 100 equals x. Okay, that one's checked as well. At this point, we go back. We check 10 through 15. 10 through 15. We got 10 right here. Okay, we got ax squared plus 24 equals g of x. It says g of 4 is 8. Okay, and then I'm asked for the value of g of negative 4. Negative 4 squared is 16. 4 squared is also 16. They're going to equal the same number. That's going to be 8. That's checked. Number 11. Okay, I'm asked to see when these two equal each other. I got 335. I see that that's going to be when I plug in that 4. I'll quick check that. What's 4 times 0.4? 4 times 0.4 is 1.6. 1.6 plus 1.75. 1.6 plus 1.75. What's that equal to? 1.6 plus 1.75. That's going to give me 2.75, 3.25. That's going to give me 3.35. And then I've got 0.25 then times 4 up top here. Okay, 0.25 times 4. That's going to give me 1. 2.35 plus 1 is also 3.35. That one's checked. That's correct. Number 12. A line in the xy plane passes through origin. That's 0, 0. Has a slope of 1/7, which of the following lies on the line. Okay, if my slope's 1/7, I have no y-intercept. That means x has to be greater than y. X must be greater than y. I see my only option with that is D. D is correct. That's checked. Okay, number 13. Which of the following is equivalent to this? Okay, I see I got to multiply by my common denominator. I do that. My x plus 2's are going to cancel, which means I have x plus 3 right here. My x plus 3's are going to cancel there, which means I have an x plus 2 here. At this point, since there's a 1 up top and I got to divide it, I'm going to flip these two terms here. So I flip them. That means I got to have 2x plus 5 on my bottom. I see my option with that is B. B is correct. That's checked. 14. If 3x minus y equals 12, I got 8x over 2y. Solve for the value of that. I know 8 can be rewritten as 2 to the third. So now I've got 2 to the third x all over 2 to y, which can be rewritten then as 2 to the 3x minus y since they're dividing. And I know that then, since 3x minus y is 12, must be equal to 2 to the 12. That one's checked. That one's correct as well. 15. Okay, I'm going to erase this so I can see my equation a little bit better. I've got ax plus 2. I've got that's equation up there. I've got a plus b is 8. I checked that. A plus b is 8. Got that there. I know a times b has to equal 15 because ax times bx equals 15x squared, so a times b is going to equal 15. Got that part. Factors of that, that's going to be 3 and 5. 3 plus 5 is 8. 3 times 5 is 15. That's as well. Now I just plug in. Okay, if I've got 3 for a and I've got 5 for b, then I've got 3x times 7. 3x times 7 is 21x. I've got that there. Then I've got 5x times this 2 right here. That's going to give me 10x. I've got that there. 10x plus 21x, 31x. Possible answer then is 31. Correct answer there has to be D, so that's correct as well because it has to be D. That's going to have to be one of the possible answers. And I've asked for the 2, so as long as I got 1 and no other answer choice has that, that's correct. So at that point, I've checked all my work. I believe I've got about 2 minutes left, so at this point I would just go through and I would just check with my bubble sheet, just make sure a second time that all my answers match up, which they will because I didn't change anything, but I'll do it anyway just because I have 2 minutes and I want to maximize that. So I'd go 1D, check that, 2A, check that, 3C, check that, 4B, check that, 5C, check that, 6A, check that, 7B, check that, 8C, check that, 9B, check that, 10A, check that, 11D, check that, 12D, check that, 13B, check that, 14A, check that, 15D, check that, 16, 2, check that, 17, 1600, check that, 18, 7, check that, 19, 4/5, check that, and then 2100, check that. Make sure my answer sheet matches up with that. At that point, I got 1:20 left, so if there was anything at all that I was not 100% sure of, I would be working on that. Really, at this point, it's just checking and matching my bubble sheet. So you saw how I managed this. I finished with 1 minute left. I've already checked everything. I've checked all my answer choices. I've checked my bubble sheet twice at this point, so my bubble sheet's definitely going to be the same as what I have in my test booklet. There shouldn't be any errors there. So at this point, I'd have 59 seconds. What I'd do is I'd just go through my bubble sheet again. I'd just go through until they call time because I've already checked my work twice at this point. There's no questions that I'm struggling on. I've got everything answered. I'm fully confident in all my answers. At this point, I would just run through my bubble sheet a third time. And then if I've got 10 seconds left after that, then I just wait those 10 seconds out. So that's how I manage my time. That's how I would do this walkthrough. I've got 30 seconds left. If I were taking the real SAT, I'd just be running it through a third time and just making sure everything in my bubble sheet matches what's in my test booklet until they call time. So yeah, that kind of takes us through the math part for today. I'm just going to keep letting the clock go for another 20 seconds here till it reaches that 25 minutes. And then at that point, we'll switch over to the SAT writing section for today is what I believe we have. Because I believe it's day 46, if I remember from when I started the video. So that's what we're going to be doing for the rest of the day, is we're going to be doing the SAT writing section. So hopefully this was helpful. I would certainly hope it was. And with that, let's switch over. All right, for the writing and language section today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through SAT practice test 4. We're going to do the first 2 writing and language passages from that section. So that's going to be questions 1 through 22. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Now keep in mind today what we're going to be focusing on is teaching you guys how to accurately find the correct answer. Okay, so that's going to be making sure that you understand grammar rules, understand things like tone, understand how to transition between sentences and transition between paragraphs, understand how to place sentences, and all the things like that. Okay, so keep in mind we're still not really focusing on teaching you guys pacing yet because getting faster, in order to get faster, you need to understand how to get to that right answer first. Because once you understand how to recognize the correct answer, then automatically you're going to become faster. Okay, so keep in mind we will teach you guys pacing strategies later on, but for now it's more focused on teaching you how to accurately find that answer, right? How to get rid of those wrong answer choices, how to find the correct answer, grammar rules, all the rules you should follow for the SAT writing section and things like that. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So we have passage 1, it's titled Ghost Mural. In 1932, the well-known Mexican muralist David Alfaro Siqueiros was commissioned to paint a mural on the second-story exterior of a historic building in downtown Los Angeles. Siqueiros was asked to celebrate tropical America in his work. Okay, I see I end with his work here, and then I have a comma after it. Okay, so if I end with his work and I have a comma after it, I need to describe his work. So I want to have a comma, and then I want to have the word which. Okay, his work, which he accordingly titled America Tropical. Okay, so my correct answer for number 1 is going to be B. Now, why can't it be C, D, or A? Well, if I look at A, I have he accordingly titled it American Tropical. That's an independent clause. Now, what came before that? Another independent clause. I can't connect 2 independent clauses with only a comma. I would have to have a comma and a fanboy, which I do not. Or I would have to have a semicolon. Okay, so B is incorrect because that's a comma splice. C also is incorrect because it has a comma splice since it says he titled it American Tropical. That's also an independent clause. So that's also a comma splice. Same thing with D. D is also a comma splice. So our only option then is going to be answer choice B. So question 1 answers B. Question 2, he painted the mural's first 2 sections featuring images of tropical rainforest and a Maya pyramid during the day. Okay, next thing I see is I have a comma after one word at the beginning of a sentence. Whenever I have a one word at the beginning of a sentence followed by a comma, I'm looking at a transition word or connecting word from my previous sentence to this new sentence. So I want to connect the two. Now, one thing that jumped out to me in this previous sentence immediately was that it talked about him painting one thing during the day. Okay, so one thing I'm going to look for is whether or not this next sentence talks about something at night, and we're contrasting that. So we have, to avoid scrutiny, Sequeiros painted the final section of the mural, the centerpiece, at night. Okay, so I see that that is contrasting that day and night, so I'm going to need a contrasting word up there. But one thing that I want to quick show you is how I immediately recognized, since I had to read on, I went ahead and answered this question. Now you may be thinking, no you didn't. Yes I did. Answer is going to be B for number 3. How do I know that? Well, I have painted the final section of the mural, and then I have comma, and then I have the centerpiece at night. If we take the centerpiece out, then that sentence still makes sense because it was Sequeiros painted the final section of the mural at night. Therefore, since we have a comma there, we have to have a comma after centerpiece because it's non-essential and it can be taken out. So since it's non-essential, we can take it out. We have to match the comma we use there with one after the word centerpiece. So our answer for 3 will have to be B. Now we can go ahead and go back to 2. Like I said, we want to contrast that during the day to that during the night that we talk about in this next sentence. So a contrast word then is going to be however. That's our only word that's contrasting. So our correct answer there is going to be answer choice B, right? He painted one thing during the day, however, to avoid scrutiny, he painted the next one during the night. So answer for 1 is B, 2, B, and then we already answered 3 as B as well. So now we're on to question 4. So we have the reason for Sequeiros' secrecy became clear when the mural was confided. Okay, so I've got 2 things here. First, I'm asked for which choice is best, connecting the sentence with the previous paragraph. In my previous paragraph, I was talking about his secrecy, right? He was secret. He painted that final section at night. Now I'm saying the reason for his secrecy became clear when the mural was confided. I know I'm going to have to switch that as well. A better word there is going to be unveiled. Okay, we're talking about that mural being introduced to the public for the first time, which is going to be the word unveiled. Okay, we wouldn't say promulgated or imparted or confided. Confided would mean the opposite of it being shown to the public, and we're talking about it being shown to the public, so our answer there should be unveiled. Okay, so answer for number 5 is going to be D. Now number 4. What's connecting it to the previous paragraph? So like I said, previous paragraph we're talking about its secrecy. In this case, we're talking about secrecy being clear when it was unveiled. So our correct answer for 4 would be A. Okay, we wouldn't say all 3 sections of the mural were on display when it was unveiled because that doesn't explain the reason for his secrecy that we talk about up there. Okay, we want to touch on that secrecy aspect. Option C, the community turned out in large numbers. Once again, we need to connect to that secrecy part of our previous paragraph. Option D, Sequeiros was informed of people's reactions. No, we want to connect to that secrecy part. The only option that's connecting to that secrecy part of that previous paragraph is option A. So our answer for 4 then is going to be A. Okay, now we are on question 6. Okay, so we have the centerpiece of the work was dominated by images of Native people being oppressed and included. Okay, how do I know that this has to be included? Well, I have the word dominated here. Okay, the word dominated is past tense, so I need to match that tense. So my answer there is going to have to be included because I need to match my tense. Okay, it needs to be in the past tense. So my answer there is going to be B for number 6. So that's matching tense. Anytime that we have a question where we have to match tense like that, what we're going to want to look to do is look for other verbs in our sentence and try to match the tense that way. So in this case, I saw I had dominated early in my sentence. I'm going to want to match the tense there because there's no reason to switch between tenses in this sentence. So we match tense and we get our answer as B, included. All right, so now we've got question 7, so we can go ahead and read on down. They eventually ordered the mural to be literally whitewashed or painted over with white paint. However, by the 1970s, the white paint had begun to fade and the bright colors of the mural were beginning to show through. At the same time, a social and civil rights movement for Mexican Americans was working to raise awareness of Mexican American cultural identity. Artists associated with this, well, that's going to have to be that movement, okay? We're talking about the association that these artists have with this movement, right? This movement for Mexican Americans to raise their awareness of their Mexican American cultural identity. So that's civil rights movement. Okay, so associated with, it's got to be this movement. Let's take a look. We see that that is our option D, so D will be our correct answer there. Okay, saying this, it, or them, that's too vague. We don't know what it is referring to, and we need to be specific about what we're referring to, okay? So keep in mind, anytime you have a question like that, and you don't know what it's referring to, there's pretty much always going to be a specific answer choice that refers to one specific thing, and you want to make sure that you're referring to the accurate thing. So in this case, we want to refer to that movement, so our answer would be D for number 7. All right, moving down, we got to them. American Tropical was an example of how art in public space could be used to celebrate Mexican American heritage while at the same time making a political statement. Inspired by Sequeiros and other muralists, this new generation of artists strove to emulate the old mural masters. All right, I'm asked to combine these sentences, so I'll read through them, try to come up with an idea of my own answer here. So we have the result was an explosion of mural painting that spread throughout California and southwestern United States. It was the Chicano mural movement. Okay, the best way to say this then would be to take the part that really I don't like here is the fact that we put a period and then we say it was the Chicano mural movement. Okay, I want to introduce that up here. Okay, I want to say the result was the Chicano mural movement and then have a comma and then say an explosion of mural painting, which is describing my Chicano mural movement. Okay, so I would want to take this. I'm going to box it up in green and then move it just so you can see what I'm saying. Okay, I want to take this right here, and we'll include the word the there as well. Okay, we'll include this. We want to take that right there, and we want to bring it right here. The result was the Chicano mural movement, and then have a comma after it, an explosion of mural painting that spread throughout California and the southwestern United States. So why do we have to have a comma after it? Well, this explosion of mural painting that spread throughout California and the southwestern United States in the 1970s, that's describing the Chicano mural movement. Okay, so let's look for an option that says that. We've got option A. The result was an explosion of the Chicano mural movement of mural painting. Okay, the problem with this is that we say the result was an explosion and then we say the Chicano mural movement. We need to say the result was the Chicano mural movement, so we can't say an explosion first. B. The result was the Chicano mural movement, an explosion of mural painting that spread throughout California and the southwestern United States in the 1970s. Yes, that one's exactly what I wrote down. It's exactly what our correct answer is going to be. So A answer there is going to have to be B. Now, one thing to keep in mind anytime you're asked to combine underlined sentences, so there's really two things that I look to do, right? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read my sentences that I'm asked to combine. Now, when I do that, what I usually do is I try to come up with my own idea of how I would combine those sentences, right? And you'll recognize a lot of times that when you're combining sentences like this, one of them will be something that is modifying or defining a word in another sentence. So in that case, what you want to look to do is take that word that's being defined and then use whatever is defining it and pair those together. So in this case, I'm pairing the Chicano mural movement to its definition, right? An explosion of mural painting that spread throughout California and the southwestern United States in the 1970s. So when I'm asked to combine sentences like that, I try to kind of come up with my own answer choice first. Now, I don't spend a lot of time doing that. Usually it should be instinctive after doing a lot of practice. And if it's not instinctive yet, it should become instinctive after you get more practice under your belt and start to recognize these modifiers and how they need to be placed next to what they're modifying, or how definitions need to be placed next to what they're defining, and things like that. And then say that none of my answer choices have what I came up with, then at that point what I do is then I go through my shortest to largest. Now you'll recognize with these, they're all about the same length. So in this case, that's really also a hint. If they're all the same length, then a good hint is that you're kind of going to want to come up with what you'd want to come up with, right? Because you can't just use the fact that something's going to be repetitive or redundant if they're all the same length, because more than likely things aren't being repetitive and redundant, and it's a question more about modifiers and definitions if they're all the same length. All right, so that was a good bit of tips there. We spent a little bit of time explaining those types of questions. Now we have depicting elements of Mexican American life and history appeared during this period, some in designated cultural locations, but many more in abandoned lots. Okay, I want to show you something right here. Anytime I see them starting a list, I want to pay close attention. So I'm going to put this in blue just so that you can see it better. When I say I have a list, right, but many more in abandoned lots, on unused buildings, or, and then I have something here, infrastructure. Okay, what I'm looking at is right here. I have a preposition, and then I have a place. I have a preposition, and then I have a place, unused buildings. I need to have, I have the word or here, that's not a preposition. I need to have a preposition and then a place. My place is infrastructure, so I want to have on infrastructure because that connects that parallelism, right? It keeps that pattern going. So on questions like that where you have a list, it's called parallelism. You want to maintain that parallelism, right? That just means you want to maintain that pattern. Okay, so in this case, we're looking to maintain that pattern of using a preposition and then a place. So we would want to say on infrastructure. So our answer for number 9 there would be C. Okay, so that's a parallelism question. Anytime that you begin a list, pay close attention to that list because it's probably going to end up being a parallelism question. So always pay close attention to that. All right, now we've got question 10. Fortunately, a new group of artists has discovered the murals and efforts are already underway to clean, restore, and repaint them. Once again, Sequeiros American Tropical is leading the way. We're asked for what sets up the information that follows. We need to know the information that follows. After a lengthy and complex restoration process, this powerful work is now a tourist attraction, complete with a visitor center and a rooftop viewing platform. All right, now we read on, we see advocates hope that Sequeiros mural, okay, I see will once more serve as an inspiration. So obviously we're continuing to talk about that America Tropical mural. Since we talked about Sequeiros mural, I'll put it in blue where we do right here. Okay, we talked about Sequeiros mural right there. Since we're going to continue talking about that, that's going to be setting up that information that follows, right? It's leading the way once again, just like it did in the past, it is doing it again. So our answer there is going to be A for number 10. Okay, we wouldn't say it's being cleaned and restored or at risk of destruction or awaiting its moment of appreciation, because what it is doing is it's leading the way for this new movement this movement again, right? There was kind of a movement before and it's having another one now, so it's leading the way again. Okay, so that's a perfect way to set up that information that's following. All right, next up, we've got question 11. Okay, so let's go ahead and work our way down there. We have, after a lengthy and complex restoration process, this powerful work is now a tourist attraction, complete with a visitor center rooftop viewing platform. At this point, the writer is considering adding the following sentence. When it was painted in 1932, Sakura's mural was considered offensive, but now it's acclaimed. Okay, we've already said that before, right? We talked about how it was considered offensive before, and we've already said that it's acclaimed now. So we're just repeating unnecessary information, so we don't want to add that because it's repeating information. So correct answer there is going to be C for number 11. No, because it unnecessarily repeats information from earlier in the passage. Okay, so 11 there, that answer is going to be C. All right, let's just go back, make sure we answered all of them for this passage. Okay, just quick run through, make sure we didn't end up skipping any by accident. And it looks like we've got all of them. Okay, so with that, we go ahead and move on to passage 2 now. All right, passage 2, questions 12 through 22 are based on the following passage. The hype of healthier organic food. Some people buy organic food because they believe organically grown crops are more nutritious and safer for consumption than people who purchase their conventionally grown counterparts. No, okay? They're more nutritious and safer for consumption than their conventionally grown counterparts, okay? We're talking about organic food and their counterparts, which are going to be those conventionally grown counterparts. So we're going to want to delete that whole part, okay? So that right there is making sure we're understanding what two things we're comparing. Okay, anytime that we're talking about two things and we're comparing them, we want to make sure we're comparing the correct things. We're comparing organically grown crops here to conventionally grown counterparts, right? We're comparing those two things. We're not comparing the people who are purchasing them. So we want to delete that underlined portion. So 12, answer there is going to be D. All right, number 13. So we have which are usually produced with pesticides and synthetic fertilizers. In the name of health, spending. No. In the name of health, who is spending? These consumers spend. Okay, answer there is going to be A. We want to make sure that we're modifying the correct answer. Okay, in this case, this is obviously a modifier question because in the name of health, that's modifying something, right? We can tell because it has this comma at the end. Now, what is it modifying or who is it modifying? It's modifying these consumers. So our answer there is going to be B for number 13. That's a modifier question. All right, moving on, we got these consumers spend $1.60 for every dollar they would have spent on food that is grown in a manner that is considered conventional. Okay, that is wordy and that is inconcise. It's wordy and it's inconcise, or in other words, it's inefficient in its word choice. Okay, so we're going to look for a choice that is very, very efficient in its word choice, and the correct answer there would be conventionally grown, right? We would say they would have spent on food that is conventionally grown. That says all of these words, but in only 2 words. Okay, we wouldn't say conventionally and therefore not organically grown because therefore not organically would be redundant. So C is wrong. B, grown with conventional methods using pesticides and synthetic fertilizers. Saying using pesticides and synthetic fertilizers is a conventional method, so B would be repetitive and redundant, so B is wrong. Looking at option A, no change. Like I said, that's wordy, it's inconcise, so that's wrong as well. Okay, scientific evidence. Now I see I have a comma here, okay, and then I have the word therefore with a comma after. Okay, so that tells me it's going to be non-essential. Now, like I said before in a video a couple days ago, anytime that we have something that's non-essential like that and it's one word acting as a transition word, we want to make sure it's either connecting what comes before it. So in this case, I'll put that in blue. We want to make sure it's either connecting the scientific evidence or that previous sentence. Okay, we want to make sure it's either connecting our previous sentence or our first sort of clause here to what is to come, which I'll put in green. So we want to connect that blue to that green. Okay, so we want to connect those two things. So let's read on and see what we have. We have scientific evidence suggests that consumers do not reap significant benefits in terms of either nutritional value or safety from organic food. Okay, well that's in contrast, right? That's in contrast to how these consumers in the name of health are spending more money. So these consumers are spending more money in the name of health, but we're showing that it's not actually healthier to eat organic. So we're contrasting two different things. Okay, so our correct answer there would be the word however, which is answer choice C for number 15. All right, so now we've gone ahead and we've answered 14 and 15. At this point, it looks like we have no more questions left on this page, so we can go ahead and move on to our next page. So we have, although advocates of organic food preserve that organic food produce is healthier than conventionally grown produce, no, okay? They aren't preserving that organic food is healthier, they are maintaining it, okay? That's taking a position. Okay, the key part here is that we're looking for a verb that shows that they're maintaining that same position, right? They're maintaining their argument. They're not carrying on, okay? Because keep in mind, we want to maintain an academic tone, okay? So we're looking for a word that maintains an academic tone and has the correct meaning. So and has correct meaning. Okay, the only word that maintains an academic tone and has the correct meaning here is going to be the word maintain. Okay, these advocates are maintaining this position that organic food is healthier. They're not carrying it on, they're not preserving it, they're not sustaining it. All of those either have a non-academic tone or don't provide the correct meaning to what these advocates are doing. Okay, so correct answer here is going to be C, maintain, for number 16. And anytime that you're asked a question like that, where you're dealing with a verb, and the verb, it's not dealing with tense because they're all different verbs and they're all in the same tense, you got to understand you're being tested to match academic tone and also make sure you have the correct meaning in the sentence. So that's an indication as far as to what that type of question is asking or testing. Okay, so we have because it has more vitamins than minerals and minerals, this assertion is not supported by scientific evidence. Okay, so we're saying it's not supported by scientific evidence. Now I see I have 2 words or 1 word, either way, it won't matter. It's got a comma after it, so I'm basically trying to transition or connect my previous sentence to what is in this next sentence. So in order to do that, I need to know what's to come. Now, since I said something's not supported in scientific research before the sentence that I'm on, what I'm looking at is I'm looking to see if I'm showing that it's not supported or if I'm showing something that is supported. Because if it is supported, then I'd want to use a contrast word, but if it's not, then I would want to use a word like for instance. Okay, so let's read on. We have one review published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition providing analysis of the results of comparative studies conducted over a span of 50 years. Researchers consistently found no evidence that organic crops are more nutritious than conventionally grown ones in terms of their vitamin and mineral content. Okay, that is supporting the claim that we made in that previous sentence. Now, since we are supporting our claim, we want to use the word for instance. Okay, we're supporting what we just said. So our answer for 17 there is going to have to be answer choice A. Now, we wouldn't say however because that's contrast. We wouldn't say in addition because we're not adding anything on. We wouldn't say likewise because the two things aren't similar. We would say for instance because we're providing that example of what that scientific research that we just talked about is showing. All right, now we got question 18. So at the point that we ended on by mineral content, right here where this box is, at this point the writer is considering adding the following sentence. So we have the United States Department of Agriculture, the USDA, reports that organic agriculture products are now available in approximately 20,000 markets specializing in natural foods. Should the writer make this addition here? Well, what we need to understand is that this is unrelated. Okay, we were just talking about whether organic food's healthier or conventional grown products are healthier. We're not talking about the markets. Okay, this would be something we're dealing with economics. So our answer is no, we shouldn't add this here because it's not relevant, right? It's irrelevant. So our answer there is going to be C. No, because it's not relevant to the paragraph's discussion of scientific evidence. So that was question, looks like 18. 18 there, answer is going to be C. All right, so now we got question 19. Let's work our way down. We see that's on our next paragraph. We have evidence also undermines the claim that organic food is safer to eat. Well, researchers have found lower levels of pesticide residue in organic produce than in non-organic produce. The pesticide residue detected in conventional produce falls within acceptable safety limits. According to such organizations as the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the minute amounts of residue falling within such limits have no negative impact on health. Okay, this one right here, testing our ability to judge tense and number. Okay, keep in mind the word have, that's a verb, so we want to match it in number, obviously, to whatever our subject is. We also want to match it in tense. Now, in this case, we're saying that according to this organization, the minute amounts of residue falling within such limits, okay, so we're referring, when we say the word have, to the minute amounts of residue. Now, keep in mind, of residue, that's a prepositional phrase, so we don't consider it, so we can cross it off. And now in green, our subject then is going to be minute amounts. Okay, minute amounts is plural. Okay, the word they is plural as well. So what we're going to want to do then, since minute amounts is plural, we need a plural verb. The plural verb is have, right? We would say they have. Okay, so that's our correct answer there. Our option is A, so our correct answer for 19 is A. That matches in number. Keep in mind it also maintains that tense that we've been using, right? The minute amount of residue falling within such limits have no negative impact on health. Okay, we want to say have. We wouldn't say is having. We would say have because that matches the tense that we've been dealing with throughout this whole passage. So we're matching that tense that we've had the whole passage by using answer choice A. All right, so now we've got question 20. At this point, the writer is considering, or the writer wants to further and reinforce the paragraph's claim about the safety of non-organic food. Which choice best accomplishes this goal? Okay, we want to talk about something with non-organic food being safe. So let's look at options A through D. There's really no other way that we can do this one but looking at A through D. If you wanted, you could start with the shortest one here, but it's not really going to help you that much just because this isn't a combining sentence question. So that's really not going to be an applicable strategy here. So we have option A, to be labeled organic, a product must meet certain standards determined and monitored by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. No, that's not talking about the safety of the food or of the non-organic food. Option B, organic food, however, is regulated to eliminate artificial ingredients that include certain types of preservatives. Once again, we're not talking about the non-organic food. We need to be talking about the safety of conventional produce. Option C, moreover, consumers who are concerned about ingesting pesticide residue can eliminate much of it simply by washing or peeling produce before eating it. Yes, that's showing how those conventionally grown with pesticides produce is still safe. So our answer there will be answer choice C. Now keep in mind, if this were me taking the test and I just read answer choice C, I might not actually circle that one right away, right? I would put a check mark by it just because I don't feel like it's super strong as an answer choice. Now it is correct, and when we read D, we would obviously see it's correct because in D we say, in fact, the Environmental Protection Agency estimates about 1/5 of the pesticides used worldwide are applied to crops in the United States, and that's not talking about the safety of non-organic produce. I just wanted to show you that option C, while it was a good answer, and it's the correct answer, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily a perfect response. I would say that there's possibly something that could be better. You know, there could be something that shows that it's even more safe than that one, which is just why I would go on and read D. But after reading D, obviously you would see that C is correct. But I did just want to point that out, that I didn't necessarily think that that was a super solid answer choice. So I would go ahead and read D. And if at any point you think something's possibly right, you think that it's got a good likelihood of being right, but you want to make sure that you're completely sure, just put a check mark by it and then read the other one. Notice why the other one's wrong, and then you can go back and you can circle your answer. So that's just one other strategy you can use. Now we got 2 questions left. Based on scientific evidence, organic food offers neither significant nutritional nor safety benefits for consumers. Proponents of organic food, of course, are quick to add that there, now recognize this is the wrong there, okay? The correct there is going to be T-H-E-R-E. Okay, we wouldn't say T-H-E-I-R because that would be a pronoun that is possessive. And in this case, we're talking about there are numerous other reasons to buy organic food, right? We're not talking about someone or a group of people. So answers D and A are wrong. Next, we're talking about there are versus there is. Okay, we would say there are numerous other reasons. We wouldn't say there is numerous other reasons. So that one right there is dealing with the number of the subject, right? Okay, so now we've got question 22. We have other reasons to buy organic food, such as a desire to protect the environment. Okay, so right here, what I'm seeing immediately is this. I see I have an independent clause. I'm going to put my independent clause in blue. Proponents of organic food, of course, are quick to add that there are numerous other reasons to buy organic food. Okay, that's an independent clause. I could end that sentence with a period. Now, in this case, I don't. I want to have a comma after it. Okay, I want to have a comma after it because I just used an independent clause. And what comes after it, the words such as a desire to protect the environment from potentially damaging pesticides or a preference for the taste of organically grown foods, that is a non-essential phrase or clause, right? We can take that out, our sentence still makes sense. All we're doing is kind of elaborating on the reasons that these people cite for why to buy organic food. Okay, so our answer there, we're going to want to have that comma after food before our non-essential phrase or clause. Now, since it is a non-essential phrase or clause, we are not going to have, obviously it can be taken out. I don't really know where I was going with that. Okay, obviously it's a non-essential phrase or clause. We have to have a comma before it since we just had an independent clause, so we can go ahead and get rid of B and C because they don't have a comma after the word food. Now we're between A and D. Next thing we're looking at is whether we should have a comma after such as. We don't need to have a comma after such as, so our answer there is going to be D. Okay, we don't need a comma after the word such as. So answer for 22 is D, and that takes us through our writing and language section for today. So hopefully that was helpful. If it was, there'll be a donation link in the description when it's up and running. As always, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Any private SAT tutoring I'm doing will be linked in the description. Any private college admissions consulting I'm doing will be linked in the description. As always, make sure to have a great day and stay tuned for more.